player rankings we showed earlier. We looked at the top teams earlier in the show, but there was one major Super Bowl contender near the bottom of the list. This, by the way, on ESPN.com. According to Bill Barnwell, Cam Ward and the Titans have the worst skill position group in the NFL. The Panthers, Patriots, Browns, and the Bills round out the bottom five. Despite having the second best offense in the NFL behind the Lions last season, Buffalo comes in at 28. They come into the season with James Cook at running back, Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman as their top receivers, and the duo of Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Bill, did Buffalo do enough around Josh Allen in this offseason? I'm thinking you're going to say no based on where you've got him ranked.
You're correct, Laura. Very astute. I would say no. And I go back to those two key fourth downs against the Chiefs last season. In the regular season, it's 4th and 2. The Chiefs drop out and play zone coverage against the Bills. Nobody gets open. Josh Allen has to run for a touchdown to win that game for the Bills. Then you move on to the postseason. That's 4th and 5 at the end of the year. Trent McDuffie, the Chiefs' star cornerback, gets sent on a blitz because the Chiefs very clearly didn't have to worry about covering anybody. There's no one they felt like they had to put their best cover guy on. They felt like they could cover with their second and third tier cornerbacks. And Josh Allen was not able to, unfortunately, to make a play. Dalton Kincaid nearly made a spectacular catch, but it didn't work out. And so I just look at that lineup and I think, okay, if we need to get a bucket, if we need a third down conversion, who are we going to? Who's the guy we trust to get open? Who's the guy we trust against any coverage? The Bills don't have that guy. And unfortunately, so many teams in the NFL do have that guy. Even the teams right ahead of the Bills, the Giants and the Jets, they have number one receivers who would step in and immediately be the best guy on the Bills. No, they like some of their young players, but I just don't think they have that receiver who's really going to help Josh Allen out.
Yeah, the Bills' pushback would be that I believe Bill had them ranked 24th last year, and they were second in the league in points. However, unsurprisingly, Bill makes a good point that that it's not about the regular season for Buffalo at this point. We know the Joe Brady offense can generate points and get them where they need to go. But the question is, who's going to make that big play against Kansas City when they have to make it to go to the Super Bowl, which they haven't been able to do. So they expect Keon Coleman to take a jump in his second year. They drafted him very high enough to consider him a number one wide receiver prospect. They expect more from Dalton Kincaid, young tight end who battled through injuries last year. The one thing worth watching here is the James Cook contract situation. He's still unhappy. Training camp right around the corner. We'll see what happens there as he enters the final year of his contract. But yeah, Josh Allen won MVP for a reason. He elevated a group last year that on paper didn't look great, and they obviously hope someone emerges as that gotta-have-it guy that Bill's talking about.
And for that reason, I think they should be higher, Bill. Not because your rankings are wrong. Your rankings are spot on. But they are a perfect fit for Josh Allen's style of play, which is why he produced an MVP season with that style of player. I think Keon Coleman takes a big leap in year 2. I think Shakir continues to be a guy that we need to talk about more often on a national basis. Obviously, Cook in the backfield, Dalton Kincaid. I also think Palmer and Elijah Moore are undercover additions to this offense, specifically the way that they fit with Josh Allen's skill set of being able to buy time. And these are guys that if you give them time, they are separation merchants. So I think we'll see a little bit more of a rise. And next year, they'll be probably come in at the 27th spot in Bill's ranking, which will be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, we see the pattern here. Bill, I want to go back to James Cook. You heard Graz mentioning the contract situation. He's unhappy. How important is he to an offense, especially with a quarterback like Josh Allen that is a threat to run?
Really important because of how that offense has evolved under Joe Brady. Very similar to what the Chiefs did after they traded Tyreek Hill. They leaned into the run game, more Isaiah Pacheco, more running between the tackles. Bills did sort of the same thing post Stephon Diggs. They wanted to lean into more 12 personnel groupings. They wanted to lean more into the power run game and kind of take some of the load off of Josh Allen if they could in the run game. And Josh Allen's still going to get his because Josh Allen is Josh Allen. But James Cook was so effective in the tackles last year, effective as a pass blocker, a complete running back, a guy who frankly deserves to get paid as they paid so many of their young guys in Buffalo this offseason.
All right, Vikings fans, buckle up because this one is heating up fast. James Cook, that James Cook could be wearing purple and gold sooner than anybody expected. It's looking more and more like the Buffalo Bills are done with him. And guess who's already picking up the phone? You got it, the Minnesota Vikings. Here's what we know. James Cook is heading into the final year of his rookie deal, and he wants to get paid. We're talking $15 million a year. That's what he's asking for, but the Bills aren't budging. According to The Athletic, Buffalo's front office is sticking to their usual stance. If a deal can't be made on their terms, they'll just move on, period. And let's be real, this isn't just about money anymore. We're hearing whispers of internal frustration with Cook's attitude and some off-field behavior that the Bills coaching staff isn't thrilled about. One league insider even told a local Buffalo reporter that unless something changes dramatically, the Bills are expected to cut ties with James Cook after this season, if not sooner. And guess what? Minnesota is already making moves. Sources close to the situation are saying the Vikings have reached out to Cook's camp. And here's the crazy part, he's listening. From what I've been told, Cook is open to joining Minnesota, especially if Buffalo doesn't get him what he wants. And honestly, it makes a ton of sense for both sides. Kevin O'Connell's offense is built to get playmakers into space. We've got an elite O-line anchored by Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, and with J.J. McCarthy getting more comfortable under center, adding a dynamic RB like Cook could take this offense to the next level. Let's not forget what James Cook did in 2024. He rushed for 311 yards, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Added 424 receiving yards and 8 total touchdowns. He was top 5 in total scrimmage yards among all RBs. He's electric, he's explosive, and he can take it to the house on any play. Yeah, he's not perfect. There have been some ball security issues and locker room drama in Buffalo, but you can't deny the talent. Now look, I'm not saying this move is done yet, but it's getting real close. If the Bills are truly out and the Vikings can get Cook on a reasonable deal, I say go get him. We haven't had a real game-breaking RB since Dalvin Cook was in his prime. James Cook could be that dude, especially in this system, but I want to hear from you guys. Should the Vikings go all in and sign James Cook if he gets cut by Buffalo? Do you think he's worth taking the risk on? Or would you rather we keep faith in Ty Chandler and Kene Nwangwu and focus on building through the draft? Let me know in the comments. I'll be jumping in to reply to as many as I can. If you're as hyped as I am about this potential move, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications, because if James Cook ends up in Minnesota, you know Report Vikings is going to break it down the second it drops. Let's keep building. Let's keep dreaming. And as always, Skull baby.
They felt was worth it. They think he's valuable. Backup quarterback is valuable. It's not the number 53 spot on the roster. It's important, and Kirk Cousins gives them some insurance for a guy in Penix, who we obviously don't wish anything bad to happen to him, but he does enter the league with a significant injury history coming out together.
Right, you also have somebody in that room who can be a mentor of sorts to Penix, and by all indications would have tied those two Mr. Rogerses together. I like it. All right, Bill, is there enough around Aaron Rodgers on offense to make Pittsburgh a true contender in the AFC?
I really don't think there is, and it feels like a house of cards maybe built upon DK Metcalf, who can hold up a house of cards. He's pretty strong, but after DK Metcalf, a lot of questions about that supporting cast. Robert Woods and Calvin Austin tied for 97th in receiver score last year for ESPN's metrics. You're looking at a running game that's new with Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren. I think Jalen Warren's an exciting player, but they don't have Najee Harris after last year. One thing I do think they did well this offseason is maybe shift to more of what Arthur Smith might like and what Aaron Rodgers might like, which is leaning into 12 and 13 personnel. 2 or more tight ends on the field over the last 3 years. Aaron Rodgers' QBR has jumped from 30th to 15th. So I understand the logic there. Get more linebackers on the field, force teams to play their base defense more often, create more sort of seams on the field for Aaron Rodgers to throw into. Loves throwing over the middle of the field. Obviously still has a great arm, even if he can't really work outside the pocket anymore. But I do think getting bigger bodies on the field and letting him pick on those linebackers might be a way to make Aaron Rodgers' life easier without a great receiving core beyond DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I love that, Bill. I would love to see them add a wide receiver. Now, there's not a plethora of options available. Keenan Allen will be my preference. Now, whether Keenan Allen wants to go to Pittsburgh or not is another conversation. Amari Cooper out there, and I think they need one more receiver to kind of right-size the weapons that Aaron Rodgers